Hello, you can win with mobile ad creatives, and we tell you how right here. Welcome to Level Up Thursday, brought to you by Mobile Growth Association. I'm your host, Peggy Ann Saltz, mobile analyst, tech consultant, and senior contributor to Forbes.com. It's exciting to kick off Level Up Thursdays, and it's even more exciting to talk with the experts who are going to be telling you what they know. You know, it's about education. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to talk about what you need to become a better marketer. That's what it's all about. And that's why we shine a light on the source and the way that you can achieve advantage these days as a marketer. Source of creative source of competitive advantage is creative. So moving on from there, you have to think about it. Ad creatives, what are they? They have to move emotions, but they also have to move the needle. And the good news is they can do both. So McKinsey tells us companies that successfully integrate creativity and data enjoy a 2x difference in revenue growth. That is huge. That is why we're going to find out how you can develop ad creatives that are emotive and effective. It's all about that because it's art meets data in today's creative revolution. That's the topic here on Level Up, and my guest does it. She brings together creative and performance, gives us a fresh perspective. She's got a decade of experience in advertising and creative, working at some of the biggest advertising agencies globally. She has also taken part in creating strategic campaigns for top global brands. And she's with us today, creative marketing strategist at Yellowhead, Noah Miller. It's just fabulous to have you here today. Thanks for joining Level Up Thursdays.
Thanks for having me, Peggy.
So I said at the top, it's all about education, right? It's all about sharing. That's what we're going to do. We're going to have some straight talk here. And we talked about a straight number. A 2x increase is huge. I mean, is that anywhere in the area, in the ballpark of what you see when, you know, companies are working to optimize creatives, to get the most out of their creatives? Is that what they can achieve? Is that what you've seen?
Yeah, so it really does depend on the client and what exactly they're promoting. But we do see that when we go in to create creative and we look at the messaging, the audience, the platform, using data, using technological platforms to analyze the creative and learn from it, when all of these align together and come together in creative, we definitely see a move in different metrics, whether it's ROI, CPI, whether it's actual actions, engagements. So yeah, I can definitely say we have seen that for different campaigns we've done.
So it really does move the needle. I mean, I've been writing about it, I've been looking at it, so I'm totally a convert to this, right? And it can move those metrics, but it's also important to understand the results we can look for. I mean, is there anything that we can talk about that gives us a range of, okay, we can move these metrics, these are the metrics we need to move, ROI, CPIs, that's what we can impact, but how do we know we're achieving high performance? Is there anything that I can use as a guidance here?
Yeah, sure. So when you go into creating a campaign, there are two main things we look into. We look into the media plan and we look into the creative. And the media plan has gone through such an evolution over the last couple of years, from creating Excels to most of the biggest platforms. Today's process are automated. So we know exactly who we're targeting, where they are, who they are, what they like to eat for lunch, and what they like to watch. But we have never done that with the creative. We've never dove deep into the creative to understand what elements within the creative work best, and not just which creative work best. And I think that when using different technological platforms to analyze creatives and to understand what makes the creative work and not just which creative works, that allows us to see better performance.
So I built you up purposely right at the top of the show, Noah, because you've been there from both sides. And I love that in a person because it's like two hemispheres of the brain coming together. And I'm sure that there is some, you know, I wouldn't say best practice, but you've seen it, you've understood, you know, how marketers have already mastered performance and bringing that, you know, bringing performance to creative. What would you suggest? Is there like a mindset or like a headspace you have to be in to approach this to start?
So I think it involves several things. And first of all, it involves strategy. You really have to understand And I said it before, who are the people, where they are, you need to understand what are the motivations, what are the barriers to using your product. How can we speak to them in a way that they'll say, hey, yeah, this is something I'm interested in. And at the same time, you also have to understand where you're advertising. So different placements, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, they all perform differently because people go on there to consume their content in different ways. So you have to learn and understand how people behave on those platforms in order to create the creatives that will meet them. The word is native, to be at the right place at the right time with the right message. And then along with any kind of technological platforms that will allow you to understand the elements, all of this together can really allow us to solve the right creatives that we need to create.
I like the way also that you're saying that we can have a plan here. You know, it's like the mindset of media planning that we know already from advertising, and bringing it here and saying, okay, this platform, this audience, this works, and approach it, you know, very systematically, which is great, because otherwise it would be sort of like this vague, hazy, you know, ad creative. It sounds very artsy. It doesn't sound very data driven, but it's very different from that. And as you said yourself, you know, native is the magic word here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go through a couple platforms with you, just to understand, because if it's has to match look and feel of the platform, I think that's what you're saying, is you have to understand that first, right?
Definitely, yeah. So for
So,
example, on Instagram, for example, so Instagram is such an inspirational platform. Things there are so beautiful. So the content has to be in the same kind of way. When people go on there, they want to feel like that escapism that when they look. So the way that the things that they want to see organically is the same things that the paid acquisition has to be in the same manner. And for example, if you take Facebook, for example, our finger is so easy on the scroll. So we have those 3 seconds, and we have to meet those 3 seconds. We have to make sure that what we want to say is being heard right off the bat, and not make long ads that the point is in the end. So we know that the audience might not even get there. So this is exactly the way we need to learn the different platforms, learn the different behaviors, and create creative that meets that.
Makes perfect sense. Of course, that's some great advice, right? But the key to everything is always wash, rinse, repeat, right? You know, now that I understand this, you know, what about the elements? It's like, this is the ad, this is the approach that's going to work on these platforms. But what is it that you can tell me about the elements? And is there any guidance you can give on how to break that down into elements that are going to be successful? They're going to be amazing and amaze my audience.
Yeah, sure. So here at Yellowhead, we use a technology called Allison. It's a creative analysis tool where we take a creative and we break it down. We like to look at the creative and see what made it up, what characters did we use, what backgrounds, what text, what CTA, what's the color of the CTA, what's the color of the text of the CTA, what's the actual text on the CTA. And it can be a million different things based on however the creative is built and what we want to look into when we create creative. And we don't do just one creative, we create to all of the creatives, and then connected to the client's data, we can see which elements within creative performed best. And then when we come up with new concepts using the strategy and using all the information that we have from the best practice about the platforms, we take all of the insights we get from Allison and we create those ads. So there's no more, well, this guy looks good, this girl looks good. I like that these color schemes, they go together. It's actual proof that a specific coin animation, a specific win animation, a specific background color, that those work and perform, and together we create creatives that we have really high potential to perform better.
I mean, you're welcome. It's live, you know, so we're not going to cut away to videos and examples, but you can walk us through if you want, you know, through a mini case study or some real life example, because I think it's exciting to understand that togetherness, that connectedness. This is not about breaking things down into elements. This is about understanding animations that work. You know, this is about testing that gives me real elements, not just bits and pieces like red works better than blue, right? This is much, much deeper than that. And I would love to hear more.
All right, so we currently work with some great clients. We have
Mm-hmm.
on
I
board
can see
and
the branding in the background, Noah, so.
all of our great clients and partners.
Indeed.
And for example, Zynga Scientific Games, Double Down. And I can tell you that for one of them, we created an ad fresh off of Allison, off of the
Mm-hmm.
recommendations. We said, hey, let's take this format, let's use this current animation, let's use this number of reels, whatever. And then we went live and realized that that ad performed really well on Android, but on iOS, it didn't do so well. So we went back into Allison and we looked into any kind of features that perform really well on iOS or Android. Kind of. Anyways, and then we created this new ad.
Mm-hmm.
It aired, and then it performed extremely well on the second operating system. So what we had done here, we both created a new ad, and then we optimized it to perform well on both OSs. And I mean, to understand what's happening between people who buy Android and people who buy iPhones and why a specific ad needs to be different for each other, it's a whole different story. But we do understand that even operating systems have differences, and we need to make sure that we maximize creative potential, that we have
Mm-hmm.
one creative and we see how it performs and we can see how we can maximize it so it performs best,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's for different audiences, different platforms, different operating systems, and even taking creatives that are performing really well and all of a sudden we're seeing them starting to fatigue, and we want to bring them back to life. So how are we taking top performing creatives and rejuvenating them, making small
Mm-hmm.
changes using recommendations of different elements, and then making them revive? So it's really about maximizing the creative potential, creating new videos, making them fit for the different platforms based on little changes that work between the different places, and then of course rejuvenating existing creatives.
I like that word rejuvenating. That seems to tell me something about best practice is here that, you know, there's a lot of creativity, there's innovation, there's guidance that I'm getting through Allison, and it's just like this ongoing dynamic. What are some best practices or some ideas you can give me about that? Because it's going to be ongoing. It's going to be very dynamic, but it's also going to be something that I need to work into my strategy. So I need some best practices to guide me as a marketer. And I'm sure that you maybe have even discovered a few through Allison. You know, it seems like it's full of surprises is what I'm hearing. So is
Yes,
there a best practice?
so I have to say there definitely is, and everybody's
Mm-hmm.
aware of performance best practice and platform best practice. But what's really amazing about Allison is that the recommendations are different from each client for each
Mm-hmm.
game. So what Allison really does is it creates best practice for specific titles, because we have an audience that can be for a bunch of different games, but for each game they like different things, they see different things attract them, different messaging.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, what Allison really does, it helps us to create best practices for each title on its own. So
Mm-hmm.
there is no across the board. There is the basic things, but we can create best practices for the different titles based on what their audiences like and what
Mm-hmm.
performs best.
And I also like the straightforward talk here, you know, the best practices, that silver bullet, this checklist. We're not leaving people with a checklist here. We're leaving them with ways how they can, you know, operate and strategize and apply this in their businesses. But there is no checklist, right?
there 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 is and there isn't, because at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day we do know that we need to fit into the different platforms and how they work, but
Mm-hmm.
what exactly will create the creative, well, that's individual to each game, and what the game is about or what the product is about and what the audience is like. So this is really like an endless world of opportunities, because creative, I mean, we do like to say that we're bringing science into the world of creative, but then creative is
Mm-hmm.
still creative. We're still going to need to experiment and explore and constantly try and evolve ourselves. And we're not just going to keep on doing the same thing, but we can help to learn and to understand from one campaign to the other, from one video to the next, from one display ad to the other, what are the things that we need to take away from it, and what are the things we
Mm-hmm.
need to design in order to evolve appropriately.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea that, there is and there isn't. That's it exactly. It's like a mindset in many ways. And then the guidance, as you said, you're finding out this together with Allison. I'm just curious, we've been talking about that. We've been talking about Yellowhead. What might be some of the data, the elements? I mean, it's all about understanding these elements. I'm going to be looking for what you have to release and share about that, because it is probably showing you some commonalities. Can you tell me something about what's next at Yellowhead, or anything you might want to share about what you're seeing there? Because it's really exciting. You're lifting the lid.
Yeah, so actually, Allison is constantly evolving, and
Uh-huh.
we are planning to add a bunch more new features in order for us to give even better insights and better optimization for our different clients. Just recently, we've completely integrated Snapchat, which is an
Okay.
upcoming platform, so it's already running, but we're seeing that like a lot of ads are running on there, and we can optimize for them. We're also adding a competitive intelligence tool so that we can look at our competition, see what they're doing, what we're not doing, to learn from the different competitors, to see the entire level of the category, and to learn from that as well. So there's a lot of things coming up in this technology
Mhm.
that allow us to create better creatives.
Now that's interesting. So I could use this. I could really see what's sort of, what the competitive landscape is. I can see what my competitors maybe in my category are doing. Is that what I'm hearing here? I can use that to get a better overview of seeing, what are all the creatives, and then shaping mine better together with you. Is that what I'm hearing here?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is something that can be done
Okay.
by just, reviewing them and seeing them. But once put into this platform, we get to see all of the data organized, and makes things easier to see what they have, what we have, how can we um, meet what they're doing, and how can we create creatives that are a little bit more detailed and further than theirs.
Mm-hmm. I mean, while you have you here, and we've been talking about creatives, and you see it from both sides, I'm just curious. And this is just inspirational at the moment, but when you can talk about, oh, I can look at my competitors and I can learn from that. Let's learn from you for a moment. Also, is there something that marketers can or should be really doing better? Some action item we talked, okay, no best practice, but take that action item back to the office. Well, actually we're working from home, so we won't take it back to the office on Monday, but leave us with something we can really action upon, Anoa.
I think the bottom line here is to experiment, because
Mm-hmm.
you always need to try and evolve. What was trendy last month might not be trendy this month, and what didn't work a few months ago might work again this month. So the point here is to, when it comes to creative, to experiment, to explore, to dare, to create new things, and then of course to try and learn from them, to create new creatives, and to see how you get better results from that.
Mm-hmm. And you're talking about evolution, evolving. What about yourself now? I mean, your career is also like that, moving on. What's next for you personally? What might we expect from you?
Well, I'm going on vacation next week, so I'm really
Okay, so you're
happy
gonna
about
chill.
that. Yes, but I'm really excited to see how Allison is, and our creative capabilities can really help different clients, and see how we can evolve this whole category together. But because this is really the creative revolution, we're moving from
Mm,
what looks good and what we learned in design school to real hardcore proof to this element works, use it. So I'll be really excited to see how different videos and different ads perform, to really prove that creative does need to meet data.
mm-hmm. Absolutely, and that's what we're talking about here. And speaking of meeting, sometimes people, they want to continue the conversation. This is live. We can't take questions as much as I would really love to, but people like to reach out. They like to continue this dialogue. Noah, what's the best way to stay in touch with you, or even keep up to date with what's going over at Yellowhead?
Of course. So first of all, you can reach me out on LinkedIn for any questions, and then you can look us up on our website, sign up to our newsletter, and keep up with everything that we're doing.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing your ideas, for sharing also the hard truth, right? That it's not a single practice, but it's a mindset, and how to get into that mindset, and also how to understand what the data is telling you so you can create better creatives. And just great talking with you. Thanks so much, Noah, for sharing.
Thank you, Peggy.
And thank you, of course, for hanging in there, tuning in, being with us today. We're going to have more of these. Level Up, it's all about education. It's all about helping you be better at what you do. And in the meantime, you can go and check out mobilegrowthassociation.com. Look under education. There's a schedule of Level Up Thursdays coming up on select Thursdays. And I'll be your host for many of them. And to keep up with me, it's all over at mobilegroove.com. You can check me over there on my website, or just send an email. Social, I'm also very active on @PeggyAnn on Twitter. And remember, knowledge is for sharing, right? So spread the word about Level Up Thursdays. Bring some friends, have some fun. It's supposed to be that way. That's the way we want it to be here. And we'll be waiting for you. And we'll be coming back and coming together soon. So looking for you again on Level Up Thursdays. Thank you.